Okay, just a quick friendly reminder, cell phones should be turned off or put on silent, and that flash photography is not permitted. Hammond Communications is providing the video feed, which will be available on the NCAA Media Hub. Okay, we're here with NC State student athletes DJ Horne, DJ Burns Jr., and Casey Morsell. We have 15 minutes for the student athletes before head coach. Please raise your hand to ask questions, and a person with a microphone will come over. Please state your name and media affiliation. If you are joining on Zoom, please use the raise hand function for questions. We will address questions in the room first and get to the Zoom if time allows. Questions for the student athletes? Right here to the left.
Cameron Hoover from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. So obviously you guys were a high seed in the ACC tournament, ended up winning it, and now you're here. Do you guys sort of feel like a chip on your shoulder coming into the NCAA tournament, which you guys weren't necessarily in the conversation for heading into the conference tournament?
Yeah.
You're good. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. I feel like, coming into this tournament, we definitely have a lot of confidence. All along, we knew we were a good team. We just, had some ups and downs throughout the season. So to be able to pull it all together for, a great conference tourney run and then ultimately winning it, definitely coming into this, with a lot of confidence.
All right. Right middle.
Bailey Tucker, College Basketball Review. DJ Burns, you just really exploded in the ACC tournament. I feel like all over social media, people were just talking about you. What's it been like since that happened?
It's been kind of crazy. The exposure that you get playing at this level is really unmatched, and I didn't really realize it until after that game how big it could possibly get. It's truly been a blessing.
To the right.
Michael Perchik, ABC 11 out of Raleigh. You ended the season on a 4-game losing streak. You were here at Pitt right before the ACC tournament. You're obviously coming back a team with a lot more confidence. Is this a bit of a full circle moment that you're now on this stage compared to where you were maybe 2 weeks ago, just down the street?
No, not really. I would say because we're kind of a new team, and our approach heading into the postseason was that it's a new season. One of the things we always talked about in our meetings before the tournament started is that it's 0-0. Everybody's record is 0-0, and we took that approach as if it's a fresh start, and that was the foundation for us to get momentum.
Right here, front right.
Nathan Keatts, the Lubbock Avalanche Journal. DJ Horne, you were teammates with Ward Washington, Devin Cambridge, Arizona State last year. Is it weird kind of going on opposing sidelines this time, and do you just have any kind of stories from your time together in Arizona State?
It's always cool to, see your friends and everything that, you play with in the basketball world. So being able to play against them, even though I don't know what their status will be tomorrow, it'll be good to see those guys again, knowing that, we were just here last year.
Questions for student athletes? Right here to the left.
On your ACC tournament run, you obviously beat a couple really good teams, Duke, North Carolina. Do you sort of think that gives you a bit of a leg up going into the NCAA tournament, that you kind of faced off against a 1 seed, and I think Duke's a 4, just kind of already going through them, I guess?
Yeah, for sure. I think, one of the great things about the tournament is that we faced all different types of adversity, whether it be injuries, just different schemes that we played against. So we're definitely going to use those lessons that we learned from the tournament heading into this March Madness run.
DJ.
On with the Wolfpack Sports Network, you guys are a different team than you were at the end of the regular season. I'd like each one of you to comment on what you think this team is doing best right now.
Let's start with DJ Horne and work our way down.
I would just say, I feel like we're really, really connected right now, and I think everybody's on the same page of what, is expected of us or expected of, each and every one of us. So I would just say the connectedness.
I'd say our defense, it was kind of good towards the beginning of the year, but I think that after we had the 4 games going into the tournament, we decided that we weren't going to be that team who, we decided to leave that defense in the past and, really step up. I think our guys have been doing well attention to detail and just stepping up.
Yeah, to piggyback on what they said, I mean, I think, we're not beating ourselves as much as we did in the regular season. We're kind of, just kind of outplaying teams, but we're not shooting ourselves in the foot.
Questions for our student athletes right here, front and right.
You guys all being graduate players, and you're kind of full of these older guys. For all three of you, how much of that is kind of the driving force behind the ACC tournament run and kind of where you're at now? This is kind of it for us. We need to do something with this opportunity in front of us.
Let's do it again. DJ Horne, work your way down.
I would say, just knowing that this is all of our last year, we came into this, especially the ACC tournament, just with a lot of desperation. I would say for myself personally, I just didn't want the season to be over. And going into the tournament, I felt that from each and every one of my teammates.
I would say the same. It was big for me that we don't go home. The way we were set up to be a part of the tournament, we most likely would not have made it without it. And we just decided that we were going to go out and fight, give it everything we got, and we got the job done to make it here.
Casey.
Um,
the question.
Yeah, I forgot the question.
Can
Yeah.
you repeat the question real quick?
Just how much of you guys, this being your last go, is that kind of drive behind getting to this point?
Yeah, it's big just because, you work so hard all summer. I'm sure every team does, but this group, like I said, has faced a lot of adversity, and our record from the regular season shows that. And the fact that things are starting to click and things are starting to get going, it's a great story that we all value. So we're definitely gonna do our best to make it a fairy tale ending.
Question to the right.
I know each season is different, each team is different. Was there ever any conversation after Saturday about the history you did achieve, the first ACC championship for NC State in 37 years?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit, but just with how fast everything's been kind of moving the past couple of days, having to get ready to get up here for the tournament and everything, I don't think we really had a chance to process it all. But the city has shown a lot of love, and I think over time we'll see more like just what we did.
Any more questions for our student athletes? Right here, back right.
I'm just wondering what each of you guys think about how this team came together during the week last week. Can you talk a little bit about that? Did you feel something different happening during that run?
In case you want to take that, work your way down.
Yeah. It was taking it one game at a time, just focusing on going 1-0. I think trying to mute out the noise and distractions leading up to the game. There were a lot of negativity outside of our locker room, and just focusing on the task at hand, and whatever happens at the end of the season happens, really. So our backs were against the wall. We embraced the underdog mentality, and the rest is history.
DJ Burns. Yep.
I'd say we used it as motivation, going into, the disrespect that we were getting, our coach and us as players, every night, just when we lost those games, just complete disrespect. And we took it personally, and I think that's kind of what the driving force was. Some of those teams that we played against, they had disrespected us as well, and we were just tired of it, honestly.
I'll just go back on what I said about us just being connected. And everybody was honestly just focused. It felt like, we all really understood what our roles were, and we were just going to go out there and execute that every night. And then, having the monkey on your back of, if we lose a game, you go home and this is it. I think that was something that we, definitely motivated us.
Any more questions for our student athletes? All right, thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Please raise your hand to ask a question, and a person with a microphone will come over. Please state your name and media affiliation. If you're joining on Zoom, please use the raise hand function for questions. We will address the questions in the room first and get to the Zoom if time allows. Questions for Coach? Right here in the aisle.
Kevin Will Graves, Associated Press. I mean, coming off 5 games where you played as well as you've played all season against teams that you have obviously deep ties against. How do you the challenge, you don't know anything about these guys you're playing tomorrow. There's not that connection, that emotional edge. How do you rebuild it for your guys?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because one of our motivating factors, in the ACC is we almost was like on a revenge tour. I think against that collection of group that we beat, we were 2-6, and we were trying to figure out, all right, how do we clean our stuff up and get better and not make the mistakes. All of the games that we played were really close, and we knew we should have won most of those games. But Texas Tech is different. I mean, we haven't played them. They are well coached. They can score inside out. They play with a certain physicality. And so I got to figure out I kind of got to trick them and tell them I think it's somebody else. Maybe we point out that it's another team in our league, and they're very similar to that. But it's one of those things where, when you get to postseason, you got to be perfect, because it doesn't take it. Sometimes it's a 5-minute stretch. Sometimes it's a 10-minute stretch. Sometimes it's just as easy as missing baskets and you can go home. And so, hopefully that experience from winning those 5 games will help us as we move forward.
Questions for Coach? Left middle.
Brooke Pryor, ESPN. Coach, I was just talking with Mo in the locker room about how he's managing Ramadan and everything through the tournaments. What does it say about his commitment both to his religion and to you guys, and his resilience that he is managing two, pretty high emotional things at the same time?
It shows his maturity at a high level. At my age, I couldn't do it, and he's doing it, and he's obviously his faith is very special to him, and also the same thing can be said about his team and his teammates. And he's handled it like a champion, and playing well and understanding what he has to do, and my hat goes off to him for that.
And when you see the late tip time, are you like, thank goodness we don't have to worry about the gel packets and everything in the middle of the game?
Well, the late tip time is great. It's for a lot of reasons, for Mo and our entire team. Like when I'm sitting there for Selection Sunday, and you know your name's going to be called because you get an automatic berth because we won the ACC. But I'll tell you what, I was asking for Friday, or I was asking for a late start on Thursday, and the Lord answered my prayers for that. Yep.
Questions for Coach? Right here.
Cameron Hoover from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. I'd say a couple weeks ago, a lot of people probably wouldn't have assumed that your team would be here in this position now. Do you kind of find that the guys sort of have a chip on their shoulder because of that, or maybe even like a freedom in being here when a lot of people assumed that they wouldn't have been?
Yeah, I don't think our guys listened to what other people thought. And, we kind of kept it in our locker room and, chip on their shoulder possibly, but I don't think it's because people didn't think we could make it here. Like, it never crossed our mind in our locker room. We have always stayed as a close knit group, and we knew, think about this, we went, one game from going 500 in our league. We were right there. I think what really threw people off is that we had a really strong back end of our schedule. Florida State on the road, here Pittsburgh on the road, then you got Carolina Duke on Saturday, Sunday, and it threw everybody off because they're like, man, they're a good team. They also think nobody ever factored in that in our league we had the third toughest conference schedule. And so we were battle tested going into that. But I think our guys just knew that some of the games that we lost, we could have won.
Questions for Coach? Right here, front right.
Nathan Keatts, Lubbock Avalanche Journal. What was kind of the scouting aspect like for you for looking at Texas Tech, because they've been playing without their big guy for a while? He might be back, and they kind of change how they do things without him. What did you kind of look for in terms of getting ready for this game?
Are you telling me he's back? You got some information?
I have no idea.
No, I think when you get to this situation, to tournament, you prepare for everyone. And, you have to at times prepare for two different situations. Doesn't change the fact how good those guards are and, how well they've been playing on, defensively and everything else. But, when you get to a tournament situation and it's one and done, if you don't take care of business, you have to prepare for every situation and you got to prepare for every young person playing. And that's what we did. We locked in, and man, he's really good. I mean, he makes them talented. But to their credit, they're really good with or without him also.
Over here on the left.
Brooke Pryor, ESPN again. Kevin, we just talked with Cal and Greg Campy, and they were both advocates to not expand the NCAA tournament. What are your thoughts on that, especially as a team that without an automatic berth, you may not be sitting here today?
Well, I totally disagree with them. And not because I just want to disagree with them. I think it should be some expansion. I just think it's too many, student athletes that not get the opportunity to play in postseason. When you look at football, they don't have that issue. You can make a bowl game and, under 500 now, and the experience of, we talk about the student athlete experience. And the only thing that really, in my opinion, that has not changed is expanding the tournament. And I don't have a number. I don't know what that should be, but I do think we should give more schools opportunities to be able to get in the tournament. All of our conferences, all of our Power 5 conferences are going to, 17, 18 teams. And so when you think about that now, let's say us for the ACC, which I think is really not fair. We're getting 5 out of 15. If we get 7 out of 18, it's not a pretty number. And so, in my opinion, when I was at mid-major, I thought, I should have an opportunity. I was at UNCW. We had won 28 games. And if I didn't win that championship game, no matter what I did, I wouldn't have the opportunity to play in the tournament. So somehow we got to figure it out. And I'm not saying that you got to load it up with high major teams. I'm saying that more student athletes, in my opinion, should have the opportunity to play in the best, postseason tournament, in college.
With that, with the postseason experience, are you surprised then that there are a number of teams that are declining NIT invites that were not invited to the NCAA tournament? Does that just having any kind of postseason experience matter, or is it specifically NCAA tournament postseason experience?
Well, I think it's, and I know this is going to sound funny, I think it's a trickle down from what happens in football. And I think we're finally getting it in basketball. You go to bowl games, and if they're not in the playoffs, I mean, how many teams show up at a bowl game without most of their good players? I think what happens in basketball now, I think it's, and I hope it's not a trend, but now everybody's eager. If you don't make the big dance, and because you can transfer right away, most people are saying, I'm going to get into the portal so I can figure out what my new opportunity is. So I think we're getting a little bit of what football's had and not playing in the biggest bowl games. And because of the transfer portal, people are jumping in right away.
Right here.
Coach Bailey Tucker, CBB Review. You could arguably say that DJ Burns was a very underrated big, and we all got to see him shine in that ACC tournament. How has that been, watching him just take his game to new heights and people starting to recognize the player that he really is?
Well, it's, just to see how much he's gotten a lot better in a lot of areas. He could always score the basketball. Defensively, we've had a lot of work to do, and I think he's gotten better in that area. He's starting to rebound the basketball. But what he's, since he's gotten to NC State, the one thing he's become, and his numbers really reflect that this year, is he's become a really elite passer. And, we run a lot of stuff through him because he demands a lot of double teams and everything to be able to pass the ball out. But he's also a prideful young man. I mean, he didn't make first team, second team, third team, or honorable mention in our league, and that's nothing because when people don't make it, you always say, well, who should come off the list? I think some really good teams, really good players that made it, but he didn't, and I think that bothered him a little bit, and I think it helped him throughout the ACC tournament, obviously being the MVP.
Coach, every year, every team is different. What makes this specific group special?
Well, I think this group's different because we can do it in different ways. We have the ability to score inside. We have the ability, for those guards to really play well. On any given night, one of these guys can lead us in scoring. It happened at least 4 times in the ACC tournament. Last year was a really good team. Our team was really good, but we had to go as Taquavion Smith and Jarkel Joyner went. And if those 2 guys didn't play well, we wasn't going to win. We can have games now where, one of our best players might not have the greatest game, but somebody else can lead us.
Right here.
Cameron Hoover, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette again. So having your NCAA tournament game in Pittsburgh in an ACC city, obviously you didn't play in this arena, but you played in this city just a couple weeks ago. You sort of think that familiarity is going to help you guys,
No, only if we played in the arena. The way our guys travel, and I can't remember I do remember the Pittsburgh was a late Saturday night game, and we got in, and then after the game we got out. Sometimes these guys don't even know what city they're in, but if we were playing the game at Pittsburgh, I think we had an advantage. But it's better than last year we had to travel to the West Coast, and obviously it didn't work well for us. Our conditioning wasn't good because of the altitude and everything else.
Probably got time for a couple more questions, if they're out there. Questions for Coach? All right, back right.
Kevin, I asked the players this earlier. What do you think this team is doing best right now?
Well, I think the one thing we're doing really, really good is that we've been locked into scouting reports and understanding our jobs. And we talk about a lot of times do your job and do it at a high level. And we're starting to complement each other, both offensively and defensively, kind of knowing where we should be and, finding the hot person at times. And all of this stuff is end-of-the-year maturity things, like things that, our ball screen coverage wasn't very good at some points in the early season. And you could tell because we've had so many transfers that now we're starting to click, and we're clicking at the right time.
Any more questions for Coach? We good? Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, guys.